it is time for another roundup as to what has been going on with FreeJam's development of Robocraft 2, along with a hearty side of speculation. First up, a teaser image was released of a craved android posing on an unfamiliar map with a red planet in the background. As an aside, I have no idea why this android has the number 3014 upon its chest display. That aside, it emerges that this place is a large object that was placed in the orbit of Mars, and that this may offer more recent glimpses on the work that has been done on the new game's bot test map area. Shortly thereafter, a further image came out of a bot designed in the new build system and illustrated on this same map. The first thing that struck me about this bot, which looks awesome by the way, is that it is remarkably symmetrical, and this has led me to hope that FreeJam might have made headway into introducing mirror mode as a quality of life feature. Maybe yes, maybe no. Next up, following feedback received from the community, FreeJam have offered a glimpse into a newly modified set of wheels with significantly more rugged and off-roady looks. I would say that these absolutely are a step up from the originals, as seen in an earlier model build. However, to FreeJam, don't toss out the old wheel design just yet, as they offer an opportunity in the future to introduce a variant of wheel that the current wheels might not be inherently designed for, such as for instance a wheel that is more slippy-slidey and lower in acceleration, but offers a higher top speed, kind of like skis do in the current Robocraft. Just don't toss the files just yet, something may turn up. Next up, a new edition of Robonews is out, with information that clarifies the earlier images. I will be linking Robonews down below, and while on the subject, I quite need your help in solving a little riddle, as I suspect that it might pertain to news that has otherwise slipped under my radar for the moment. Robonews have taken to including little links within their content. This looks like a YouTube link, but it's a little too long for that. While I'd like to dig deeper and solve it myself, I have no more time to spare to it. So it's down to you to pick up where I have stumbled. What wondrous little secret is this link hiding? What does it pertain to? Feel free to comment down in the comments below, and I will update the description accordingly and credit the first person to enlighten me. Our next piece of news brings us back to the basics, as we gain a number of clarifications concerning the block building system that Robocraft 2 will have, as well as new features concerning building itself, new features that have been revealed. First of all, it has been confirmed that at least part of what FreeJam are aiming for is a structural integrity system where the health of parts resides primarily in the strength of the bonds between parts, which itself is determined by the strength of bond that the materials of these parts have, as well as the connective surface area. What this means is that when a part endures a shock, the bond which holds two or more parts together will be tested and may be severed. FreeJam also expect the system to work out well enough that a situation where a part, regardless of material and regardless of size, costs one core CPU is still something that can be balanced. While I still retain some reservations concerning this, mainly from a balancing standpoint, I also think that it's only fair to let FreeJam follow through with its planned system to conclusion and see how well that works out. Who knows, it might come together quite well. With those clarifications out of the way, now on to some more concrete information. FreeJam have declared and showed that they have introduced new tools that allow players to build at 1/3 of the normal scale. This is very interesting, as it not only allows for much more detailed aesthetics, but it also introduces new damage routing options and possibilities, and within a much tighter space than was available in Robocraft 1. An ability to build at a finer scale does, in my opinion, qualify as Robocraft but better, and that is terrific. Of course, there does remain the small issue of even these fine little parts at 1/3 scale being at a cost of 1 CPU regardless, just as a block 30 times its size would also cost 1 CPU. Again, we'll have to see what FreeJam comes up with to balance things such as these. It is noted that FreeJam have included tools to allow players to be quite deft with the new 1/3 scale feature, and the ability to toggle between 1/3 and whole block scale placements is a welcome sign of forward thinking. Okay, on to the next news item, this time again concerning switch plates. We have gotten our first glimpses as to how these plates will work, and we've also gained a better understanding of the scale involved. These things, switch plates, are massive, and speaking of sense of scale, do you remember how I kind of raised concern in the previous video about the potential for traffic from multiple players wanting to use the same switch plate might go down? Well, it turns out that the concern was unnecessary, as it has been stated that the plan is for each and every player to have their own designated switch plate, with hints that customization of these switch plates might also be on the cards in the future. As such, players should have unhindered access to switch plates, and as for other players who decide to troll and occupy other players' switch plates, I think that an appropriate and funny way to deal with such is to eject them violently when the bot spawning process begins. Maybe even extend the shockwave beyond the exit from the switch plate to prevent external blocking. The next question that should really be answered is how to ensure that switch plates are suitable for all kinds of bots. The most obvious example of such bots being aerodynamic reliant planes, which require some, runway for instance, but maybe also other kinds of bots that are not suited for ground terrain in general. If it ever becomes viable to spawn in a boat bot, a floating bot, then it might make sense to, with some delay, to teleport the entire thing from the plate to a designated starting point a short distance from the base. The longer the distance, the longer the delay. Simple as that. Well, that's the news that I have for you for the moment. With news out of the way, the rest of what I have to say shall stray further from the speculation and closer to what one could call wishful thinking territory. We haven't had much concrete information cluing us into what shall be the first game mode that FreeJam is planning to introduce. That does mean that we can get a little creative in our speculation, but let us briefly go over what we do know. There will presumably be switch plates involved, and these will likely be inside a team base of some kind. If players get stuck far away from base, they will be able to beam back to base, and that's pretty much what we know. These details already suggest that the maps might be larger than what Robocraft 1 players are accustomed to, which I'm looking forward to, for as long as they have enough features to keep them lively. Now, on a rather unrelated note, a person with the username of Takoyaki did several days ago, upon the Discord of Robocraft 2, share the opinion that a space warfare game mode would be interesting. I am fairly sure that I had mulled upon the idea already by this point, but this person's shared opinion got me thinking about it in a more focused way, as well as the problems that might come with such. One clear potential problem is that bots that depend upon traction upon ground, like wheel bots, would have little place in space. Similarly, there are no aerodynamics to speak of for as far as planes would be concerned, making maneuverability difficult since there's no atmosphere to speak of. The main draws of a space mode would include the distinct lack of gravity, as well as the immenseness of space, but a lot of bots simply wouldn't function well in a true such environment. And why would pilots from multiple factions fight in the dead of space anyway? They'd need a reason. As an aside, I do think that there is room in Robocraft 2 for a third faction, perhaps even more, and therefore also a third team in matches, at least in respect to some game modes, but I digress. Well, I did give this some thought, and the following is what I came up with. What if throughout the galaxy there are hyperdense comets brimming with plutonium or other resources that the various factions often get into skirmishes with over control and mineral extraction rights? What if such a comet presents a fairly large surface area that wraps around itself as a space body would be expected to do, and what if the space body exerts its own limited gravitational pull and also its own pseudo-atmosphere of tiny particles leaving a beautiful stream behind as it hurtles through space? And what if around this comet rotate 2 or more dropships of factions vying for control of said comet? What you would end up with is a game map unlike any other that has before been seen in Robocraft. A map that is ambitious, perhaps including limited structures from previous mining expeditions, and with various ramps, slopes, vents, and other things that bots may be tempted to use, that bots may attempt to harness or use to make time near the surface of the comet more interesting or to assist with traversing between comet and ship. Since the comet and spaceships are hurtling through space under their own power, objects that find themselves without power, such as a car that is caught in the space between, will begin to slow down relative to them, and begin to fall behind. As the comet and ships get ahead, the pilot gets warned that they are exiting the engagement zone, and some short way further, the bot and pilot is lost to space, the latter to respawn on the team's ship in question. These ships could serve as the bases of the respective teams in relation to this map, and interactions could shift depending on the game mode. Perhaps Robocraft technology is such that the only way that these ships are able to keep up with the comet for any amount of time is through control of the resources on the comet itself, which would also explain the short time window for matches to occur within. Again, that is speculation, and again a bit of wishful thinking mixed in, and I do hope that you found this at least a little enjoyable as you travel through my mind space. Well, that really is all for the moment. It's time to hear from you, the viewer, and I will meet you down in the comments below. What do you think of the first glimpses of what is presumably the new test map? Would you like to share any thoughts as to what you might like to see included in such a test map? Do you like the look of the new wheels? What are your thoughts on being able to build at 1/3 the scale of what Robocraft 1 allows for? Do you see potential in this? Are you feeling more positive about the new information concerning switch plates? Okay, that's everything, so thank you for watching.